The Amazon showrunners are opening their mouths again, and it's absolutely hilarious. The Rings of Power is the gift that no one wants, but it keeps giving. Hello, welcome, links and info down below. So as you can see, this bounding into comics article, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power showrunner responds to criticism the show is only vaguely connected to J.R. Tolkien's work. Now, a reporter described it as vaguely connected, and then he said, "We don't feel that way. We feel like the deep roots of the show are in the books and in Tolkien. If we didn't feel that way, we would be terrified to sit up here." Let's make that statement correct, shall we? Amazon is paying you to sit up there. You are making money by sitting up there. This show is barely Tolkien. They have rudimentary rights to a small section of the book at the back. They've had to invent characters to fill the gaps of what they don't have rights to. They have rewritten characters' biographies to the point they are unrecognisable. So, let's go into this even more. We feel the story isn't ours, the story we are stewarding, and it's here before us and waiting in those books to be on Earth, he said. Now, the problem with that statement is you aren't basing anything that's written in the books. You are basing it on the vague notes at the back, which are intended for the reader. You are attempting to make a show out of that. There is no, other than the vague structure of the rings and creating the rings, this isn't what you've done. This is a problem, to say the least, on the subject. We don't feel vaguely connected. We feel deeply connected to those folks and works every day, to the closest connection. That's really how we think about it. The problem is it's all based on how you feel, and you can't really do it. The issues here is that these two are clueless. They've bastardized the work to the point of unrecognisable. And half-foots are hobbits. There is no mention of any of these creatures in Middle-earth at that point in history. And I'm going to clarify this one. There is a whole list of works and books, but they didn't want to pay for the rights, so this is the problem again. I keep reiterating this point. How can you tell the story you don't have the rights to? There is a rumour they don't even have the rights to the One Ring. There is an example that hobbits began in the elder days that are now lost and forgotten. Only the elves still preserve any record of the vanished times. The problem is, men seldom appear within this history. Hobbits are not mentioned at all, and this so far is going to be an Age of Men and a Hobbit story. They are emulating the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings style here. He also went on, well, it's actually technically not a Hobbit story, it's a Half-Foot story, so Tolkien doesn't say anything about Half-Foots not having done anything amazing in the Second Age. He sees it as hobbits before the First Age didn't do anything impressive, so they felt they had the license for a Half-Foot story. Again, this contradicts Tolkien's work. In the Fellowship of the Ring, before the crossing of the mountains, and the hobbits had already become divided into 3 separate breeds. Half-Foots, Stoots, and so on. The Half-Foots were browner of skin, smaller and shorter, and were beardless and bootless. Their hands and feet were neat. So again, they're contradicting the works here. They're contradicting Tolkien's own timeline. And again, they can't use anything outside of this appendice. The thing that's really annoying me, and I know this is a nitpick, why do the elves look like Vulcans, and what's with the costumes? Again, you have one of the most expensive shows in history. There are plenty of television series that have amazing costumes that are done on barely a quarter of this budget. The fact that they seem to be skipping over Morgoth as well, and I think they are attempting to kind of put as much Lord of the Rings stuff in this as physically possible because of the nature of this type of show. They're also compressing the timeline, which again contradicts Tolkien's story. A lot happens in between this. A lot is happening over the course of this, 1,600 years, 1,800 years? They aren't telling Tolkien's story. They're telling their own story with a Tolkien skin. And they've changed how they're promoting. They've changed how they are telling this story to fill that gap. Because they don't have the rights, because Amazon felt they only needed a small section of the book, this is going to be very interesting. They've also, and I'm going to put this one out there, They have also the rights, film, television, and film rights to the rest of the works is now in another company. So are we going to have two contradictory Lord of the Rings universes at some point or another? I have a really odd feeling this is going to be a mess. But you've created something, you've taken the setting and the names and a very basic plot, you've invented your own characters, which are the main focus of this series because you don't have rights to them, and you have created something that isn't really Tolkien's work, other than a vague, loose connection. At the end of the day, if you wanted to create a woke, diverse fantasy that represents modernity, maybe you should have adapted more of a modern work. Tolkien's world is rich and deep, and you are presenting it as a CW show. And I mean, I'm going to say this, The Witcher, great series on Netflix, the first series especially, was produced on a minuscule budget and looks 1,000 times better than this. Why do I think this is money laundering? I'm joking, kind of. But no, in all seriousness, gatekeeping can be a good thing, and I think gatekeeping Tolkien is a very good thing. So, tell me what you think in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.